Well, hey everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic on Board Game Geek, bringing you episode 2 of my playthrough of Legends of the American Frontier. And in the last episode, we did the upbringing stage, where we basically went through the history of our characters and how they were raised before they became heroes and legends in the frontier. Now they're trying to forge their legend and become the most legendary frontiersmen in the storyline. So to do that, we're going to go on from this upbringing stage that we did in the first episode to the meat of the game, which is going to take place in the adventure stage. Now, at the end of the last episode, I did do the initial sunrise phase, which was to place out adventures on the board and put out some fate wheels. Those are what they're called, these little wheels that could alter the course of the adventure. And now we got to get on to our daytime phase. And what that means is we're first going to choose an action, and I'm going to use our character Daniel's action cards. And there's only 4 of them. They have the beautiful artwork of our character on it. And it's sad that these cards are kind of warping on me because they are really, the artwork and stuff is very nice. You have one for each of the areas on the board, and I'll show you that in a minute. So you have one for the frontier, one for the far west, and one for back east. And then also the rest action, which gives you some options to recover some things. Because you may look at these adventures and go, I can't complete them, they're too hard, so you may not take a chance on them. And I'll go over each step and how we resolve an adventure. But the first part is each character is going to secretly place down what they're going to do. And they're either going to attempt an adventure or they're going to rest. And it's really going to be those things that they're going to do. And then within that, they're going to play a card or cards down to the adventure to see if they can overcome it. If they fail, there's a penalty to that, unless you can buy it off with True Grit tokens. It takes 2 to buy off the penalty, and the only person that has enough of those to do that with, really, I believe, is the character Annie. She got a whole bunch in her upbringing stage. So after we do that, we're going to go to the resolution. So once everybody's picked, we're going to resolve them by the first player. And remember, we're currently the first player, Daniel. We're going to resolve the adventures by the first player, not if they rested. And it's going to go in the order of back east, and then over to far west, and then over to, so we're going to go, back east, frontier, and far west, and I think that order. I'm going to look in the book just to make sure. And then each player on that adventure will resolve first, because especially on the multiple player adventures, they will resolve. And with the group that's there. So I know I'm not explaining this very well, but if, for example, 2 of our characters, let's say Daniel and Annie, went on this one, for instance, and Thomas went on this. Well, we're the first player, so we're going to resolve, though, in the order. So if we resolve it by the order of back east, so Thomas would resolve his first, even though he's not the first player, because he's back east, and he'd take his attempt at that first, and he's either going to succeed or fail. Then when we go to here, Daniel's going to go first because he's the first player, then Annie, and so on and so forth. And again, we only have 4 characters out of the many characters that are in the game. And what we'll do after we've decided where we're going is that we'll place our tokens where they belong. And we'll attempt to accomplish that adventure, and that adventure is going to continue to build our story, success or failure. Okay, and that's really it. And then after we've done that, after we've resolved the adventures, we're going to resolve any rest actions that were taken. And then after that, once an adventure is off, either we've solved one or one's aged off, then we're going to go into a different phase. So that means we need to add adventures, which is the evening phase. We're going to need to add adventures. Etc., etc. So we'll see. We'll get there as we go. But the first part of this is in the meat of this phase, which is the adventure phase, and we're going to start the daytime phase now. Okay, so there can be a lot of player discussion in this part about who's then I don't think, just thematically, I don't think you could actually say what your cards are. That wouldn't seem right. But, like, for instance, the players can talk about which, if they would go on a group mission or not. And in this case, there would have been quite a bit of talk about perhaps going after this one. In the end, nobody was committed to it, and that's the one in the frontier. So it may be that no one goes after this because the 60 points is awfully hard to get, even though the rewards are fantastic. So we're going to have to leave that where it is. But what we're going to do next is, in turn order, we're going to reveal the selections that the players made. So we're going to start with ourselves, Daniel, and what he picked was the Far West, which is going to be the adventure of the spiritual benefactor. It says, influence the first West Coast cathedral to be built in San Francisco. It requires a lot of providence and, 15 points of providence and wealth to combined. So that's what he went after, and we'll have to find out why he did that. And then Sarah, she actually went back east to to this one here, which is going to be the architect and master builder of the White House. She wanted to participate in that. It's got a knowledge of 16, and it also has, of course, 3 to their legacy. Annie said, you know what, she said she's not going to go on any of the adventures this turn. She's going to rest, and that will allow her to do a number of things, but it won't happen until after all the adventures are resolved. And then Thomas is going to be competing with Sarah back east. And what we're going to do now is, since nobody went on a group adventure, I'm just going to have one of whoever's resolving first, which in this case I think is going to be Thomas, and I'll place actually it'll be Sarah. So I'm going to place their tokens out where they belong, and we'll take a look. I don't know how clear that is, but I got Daniel's token here, and Anne, and Thomas is here, and of course Annie's not on the board. So the next part of the phase that we're going to do is we're going to actually start resolving those, starting with Sarah in the back east stage. To be fair, resolving an adventure is a little bit complicated, actually. And it's interesting because the way that works is there's trump cards, and the trumps are based on the skill that we need to play against. So in this case, going back east. Now remember that this already has a revealed token on it, a fate token that says, if failed, double the failure penalty. So we'll just place that right here as a reminder, and we'll have this right here in the middle of her card, or we'll just, I guess we'll place it off to the side. Well, I want to make sure you can see it. We'll put it right here. Okay. You know that we have to get 16 knowledge. So how this works is, this is a solo adventure, so she's competing for this with Thomas, but they're not going to be able to combine any of their skills. So she's got a couple of things that she can do. She can play one skill card, okay, and it has to match the skill required. And then we're going to be drawing, and so it's interesting. So there's this thing called American Ingenuity. This is a little difficult to explain, but once you get it, it's not that difficult. So the first thing you have to do is play a skill card that matches the trump of the action. Now, there could also be a wild card because they match all trumps. So in this case, it has to be knowledge. Now, this is an either-or situation. So if she's going to play one skill card, then that's all she gets to play for that round. Now you're going to say, well, how does she get to 15? You know that you saw some of the skill cards we had. There's 7s and 8s. Well, we're also going to draw what's called I guess what they call them, destiny. Ooh, got to refresh this. So we're going to, we end the destiny deal, which is going to come out of the deck, and there's a number of ways that could end up adding up. But I think what she's going to do, because she does have a relatively high. Now, if she plays, if she plays just one card, it can be of any value. But if she goes with the American Ingenuity, which is the Americans' drive to explore the frontier, etc., then she can only play cards of value 4 or less, but she can play as many as she has available to her. Well, we're not that either match the suit or a wild or luck cards, so match the trump. So we're not going to do that though. But what she is going to do is play down a 7 knowledge card, and that's what she has. So you see that she's not even close to 15 yet. So there's going to be a bit of luck here, and might end up resulting in a failure. Now Sarah does have one grit token, which she might be able to use to do something valuable. We'll have to see. But right now we're going to see if her fate deal gets her up to 15. Now she would need an 8, right, or better. And now there's a couple of circumstances. So we're going to draw the first card, okay, And, oh, it's a 6 knowledge, so I do think she is going to fail that. Now, if the card was a trump, in other words, if it matched a knowledge card or was a wild card, there's 3 circumstances. I think it's trump, wild, or luck cards. And a wild card would be just have a wild, this same symbol in the middle. Then we would get to draw another card. Now, she hasn't failed yet, so she's got what? She's got 13 here now. This requires knowledge, and her knowledge is a 4. So we get to add her skill to it, so that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So currently, she has succeeded this mission with a 17. But that's not where it ends for us, because we know that Thomas is also competing with her on this. So now we're going to do Thomas's draw. And here's Thomas. Now he also has knowledge of 4, so he's got a pretty good shot at getting something to happen here, right? We'll see. What is he going to play? Well, he's going to play a knowledge 8 card. That was his high card. So Sarah's kind of sweating bullets now as she's trying to compete to be the architect of the White House. So basically, again, we're going to draw a card, the card for this, which is going to be a 5. So you can see that 8, 9, 10, we got a 13 again. Well, this is interesting because they tied. So we got a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that is the score that we have for Thomas right now. So let me look and see what happens with a tie. They both have a 17. Wow, so this sucks for Thomas because Sarah was in the player order was second player. And the player in, so we resolve in whoever went first. So Sarah went first, and this is, I guess, the advantage of going first. So right now, if Daniel were to be competing here, he would have won in this as well if he had tied. So Sarah actually wins this only by the fact that she was in the ability to be in the position of going first. So Thomas has failed. So of course the cards that were used are going to end up getting discarded, and we're going to put Thomas back. He has not succeeded in this mission. But I don't know, I got to look and see if that results in a failure for him, even though he did succeed, actually. Or is that just, he just doesn't get the reward. So luckily, Thomas does not end up being penalized for failing to beat Sarah, because they both succeeded at the actual adventure. Now, again, we're going to take a look at, she succeeded. So what does she get? Well, she's going to get this to be added to her legacy. So it is going to go here with a new story that she was one of the architects and master builder of the White House, and she gets to make a choice. She can add to her skill, increasing her knowledge to 5. Actually, and she actually, I think she gets all of these rewards in this case. It's not an and or. I'm going to take a look at that, but I believe that is the case. So there are different scenarios where you're going to get the skill tokens in different ways, and I believe in this one, yes, she is going to get all of the rewards. So she can get +1 to her knowledge skill. Yeah, let me just think about this for a moment. I want to make sure I'm doing that right. So yes, Sarah did really well on this. She scored. So not only does her knowledge skill go up to 5 now, but she gets a status, a wealth, and a happiness token. Now again, as they grow these tokens out, they can also then buy some of these rewards, which give them bonuses to their skills, grit tokens, and victory points, or add to their legend. So that's pretty cool stuff. They also might end up getting hardship tokens, but we'll have to see, or hardship rewards. We'll have to see how that goes as time goes on. I think we're going to fail things eventually, so that's where that's going to come into play. But that ended Sarah's go, and she succeeded at that mission. So that's pretty awesome for her. Last but not least, these do get discarded, and she gets to replenish up to her 7. As does Thomas. He's going to get another card, because even though he didn't fail, he still gets to replenish his cards, though he got no rewards. Everyone on this adventure is a bit envious of Sarah's good luck. But now we go to the frontier. Now, there was no action taken on the frontier. So what we're going to do there is we're just going to, just so I don't forget, we're going to age this adventure. Now, if it falls off, it's going to get replaced. And in the next sunrise phase, we will replace the adventure back east, but we're not going to do that now. And then we go on to the far west, where Daniel is attempting to be a spiritual benefactor and influence the first West Coast cathedral to be built in San Francisco. Now, since he is attempting this, we are going to turn over his fate wheel and see no character skill points may be used. Well, that is terrible, because that was very important for him to do, and I'll show you why. We were definitely counting on him to be able to use both his, because remember this spiritual benefactor is both wealth and providence. That would have been 4 points that he would have been able to add to this card. So now I really have to think hard on what we're going to do there. I mean, he's still got a decent chance of making it. He had a high card. So basically we're going to play his 8 providence card right now. And we're going to do that one there. That's the card he's going to play for this mission. Everybody's kind of going, you lose, Daniel. You're going to fail because you couldn't play your skills, because that would have given him a 12 out of the 15 he needs to do it with. But we're going to have to draw a skill card and see what happens. So we get, okay, now this is huge for us. So that's 8, that's 10, that's 14. So we're only 1 away. We would have failed. However, as I told you before, if you draw a trump, you get to draw a trump, a wild, or a luck card. You get to draw again and add to this point. So that was another 7. So we succeeded in our spiritual benefactor mission and our event. So basically, it says benefactor for the first cathedral built in San Francisco, and you can see that our rewards, and we almost failed. It was kind of tight because of the lack of ability to use a skill, but we did succeed. And you can see that we would have taken a penalty for wealth or providence, but we didn't. Instead, we're going to get 2 happiness tokens or a status and a happiness token. And I think based on what I'm seeing on the board, he's going to take the 2 happiness tokens. Remember, he's kind of a happy guy and all that good stuff. So it's not quite as good a reward as the one that Sarah got, but it's still pretty good, and it also adds to our legacy as he's our player. So we're going to get to add that to there, and that's going to give him plus 2 points at the end of the game. And that was the resolution phase of our play there. So these get discarded. Now again, he only used 1 card, so we're going to refresh him back up to 7. What did we get? We got another 6 providence cards. So that doesn't hurt us at all, and that is going to put us back. Now we haven't had to use any true grit or anything yet. We may later. We'll see. That resolves all the adventures. So now what we have to do is resolve Annie's rest scenario. So there's a number of things that a player gets to do when they rest, and we're going to go through each one of them. So the first thing that she can do, and I'm not going to explain this every time. Next time I'll just do it, but this will help you understand. She can do. We're going to draw 4 skill cards for her. She is going to have to retain only 7, but it is going to give her 2, 3, 4 some options to get to perhaps another better adventure. So we'll discard down for her in a moment. The other thing that will happen is she could have done that or take a true grit token. Well, she's already got 4, so she's not going to take another true grit token. But what she also can do in this is she can now you can trade, the status tokens that you get. You can trade those 2 for 1 for any one that you're after. So we're not going to do that. And it doesn't matter which 2 you trade; they can be different types. Right, and then you also get to ability. You can spend 3 grit. This is in addition to increase a skill, and I think we're going to do that. She really doesn't have. She only has 2 skills available to her, and that's knowledge and capitalism. So she is definitely going to spend 3 grit tokens, and I think we're going to. She feels fairly limited. I believe we're going to increase our frontier to 1 just to start giving us some ability there. This token was discarded, as was this one. Okay, so basically that was her turn. So she was able to get 4 cards, which we're going to have to discard back down. She increased in the skill, and that's what her rest action did for her. Now, if she had enough points to buy a reward card, when you take a rest action, you can then buy a reward card. So she could have bought one of the rewards that were available, and nobody really has enough to do that right now, but because they all take at least 3. So we're going to move on. That is going to be the end of the rest phase. Now we're going to go to the evening phase. So in player order, the first thing that can happen in the evening phase is first we have to check some conditions. If we have to put out an adventure and there are no more to put out in any of the 3 sections, it's going to trigger the legend stage, the end of the game, basically. There's also some other trigger conditions, but I think if couple of these stacks are depleted. But that's going to end. That's really all that happens there is you check that. Then a player can at that point, remember, someone could have bought or purchased one of these cards, that's great, purchased one of these cards during the phase prior if they had rested, but they can also at this point in player turn order purchase one of these cards. Okay, and then the last thing that we do is in the evening phase is, let me just double check that. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. We pass the first player marker, so the first player token is going to go from Daniel to Sarah, and you've seen the big first player token. It's somewhere here on the board. I've misplaced it. Anyway, it is going to pass from Daniel to Sarah. So Sarah is now going to be the first player, and then we get around to the next sunrise phase. So I'll do the sunrise phase, and then we'll stop there for the next adventure phase. The only thing that's going to happen in the sunrise phase is we are going to get another fate wheel right here, and then we're going to check to see what happens. Ship molasses for rum and slaves. You could make a fortune in the rum and slave trade. Now, see, this is interesting because it's a bad thing that you're doing. It is wealth 15, gives you a whole bunch of wealth tokens, but it also automatically gives you a negative provenance card to your legacy. And if you fail, you get a negative. So you can end up, well, you're going to end up with a negative card regardless of what happens, and it is a solo adventure. So we all know that slavery is bad, so that has a negative impact on the player if they choose to add that to their legacy. By the way, this is the first player token, and it has gone to Sarah. Okay, so the middle board, the frontier board, all we did was age the war of the officers in the War of 1812 because we didn't do it. Now, if it falls off, it will be replaced, but right now just age one. The fate wheel stays where it is, but we do have to draw a new one on the far west, and it's another solo adventure. It says Mountain Man Adventures. Hunt and trap fish in the Rocky Mountains high above the settlement of Denver. Only requires a 14 on the frontier skill track and gives you a number of rewards. It also gives you a hardship card because I guess, you know, being up in the mountains is a bit tough. So that's that one there, and we're also going to add another fate token to that, and that is the sunrise phase. So we are set up and ready to go for the next adventure phase, in which case it'll be in the next episode. So let me know what you think of this game. I love storytelling games. This one definitely builds a story around your characters. And I think at the end we'll just, when I end the game, we'll review everybody's stories and see how it goes. Though I do recognize that in my teaching in this second episode, because we had not gone through the adventure phase and evening phase in the last episode, it took longer than it probably will the next time. So we're going to stop there, guys. That's going to be it. And next turn, we will see what happens as we continue our adventures in the American frontier. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Hey, help me drive subscribers. It's always important. It's allowing me to do more with the channel, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all that you do already. And by all means, don't hesitate to donate if you have the opportunity to do so. You can do that on PayPal to Doug Herring. It's Doug Herring at suddenlink.net, or you can do it right on the YouTube page. But anyway, thanks again. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to play the next round of this for you.